What's up and mabuhay class, teacher DK here, and we are here in our fifth lesson in English 10 second quarter. For this lesson, our most essential learning competency is to write an exposition or discussion on a familiar issue to include key structural elements and language features. Before we proceed to our lesson, let's have first a short review on what we've discussed in the previous lesson. So during our first lesson, we've talked about the language of research, campaigns, and advocacies. We've differentiated research, campaigns, and advocacies. With our lesson two, what we did and what we've discussed is the different key structural elements and language features of an argumentative text. During this lesson, we've defined first what argumentative text is, and we've identified the key structural elements and also the language features of argumentative text. For our third lesson, we've formulated a statement of opinion or assertion. So in this lesson, we first differentiated what is an opinion and of course what is an assertion. And then we've made some simple statements that is considered an opinion and of course an assertion. For our fourth lesson, which was last week, we've formulated claims of fact, policy, and value. So, of course, we first took the initiative to define what claim and then identify and differentiated fact, claims of fact, rather, claims of policy and value. In this fifth lesson, in English 10 quarter 2, we will be knowing what an exposition is, and we are expected to write an exposition or discussion on a particular issue or familiar issue rather, which includes the key structural elements and language features. So before we start the discussion proper, let's have first our reading time. Please read the exposition and answer the question that follows. Or let's read all together, and with the guidance of our audio, let's pause this video for a while to read this reading time titled, Is Smoking Good for Us? So here's our audio. Is smoking good for us? About 50,000 people die every year in Britain as direct result of smoking. This is 7 times as many as died in road accidents. Nearly a quarter of smokers die because of disease caused by smoking. 90% of lung cancers are caused by smoking. If we smoke 5 cigarettes a day, we are 6 times more likely to die of lung cancer than a non-smoker. If we smoke 20 cigarettes a day, the risk is 19 greater. 95% of people who suffer of bronchitis are those who are smoking. Smokers are those and half times more likely to die of heart disease than non-smokers. Additionally, children of smokers are more likely to develop bronchitis and pneumonia. In 1 hour in smoky room, non-smokers breathes as much a substance causing cancer as if he has smoked 15 cigarettes. Smoking is really good for tobacco companies because they do make much money from smoking habit. Smoking, however, is not good for everybody else. Is smoking good for us? Okay, we're back and we've heard one example of an exposition. It's an example of expository essay, and it talks about smoking. So in this case, let's unlock what an expository or an exposition is. So in your handouts, you have in there the definition of an exposition. An exposition is a piece of text that presents one side of the issue. Exposition has different types. We have there debates, expository essays, editorials, oral arguments, legal defenses, book reviews, movies, speeches, online games, and blogs. Exposition, or yes, of course, the exposition has basic structure. So the structure of exposition includes the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. So in this case, we have here basically we have three paragraphs. One paragraph for introduction, one paragraph for body, and another paragraph for conclusion. But take note, for our body part, for the body stru- the st- for the body of an exposition, this may vary. It may have two or more paragraphs depending on the topic that you will be discussing, and it's dependent on the writer on how many paragraphs he or she will be writing. But basically, our structure of exposition has three paragraphs. So let's define what an introduction is. So an introductory paragraph lays the foundation of your writing and gives the reader an overview of your thesis statement. So when we say thesis statement, it expresses the main idea the writing will discuss, and it tells what the composition will be about. So use your opening sentence to get the reader's attention, and then follow up with a few sentences that give your reader some context or some overview for the information you are about to cover. So that's for introduction. For our body, the body of your expository writing contains 3 to 5 paragraphs. See, it may contain 3 to 5 paragraphs, and each paragraph begins with a topic sentence supported by details or materials, or in short, it has a supporting details. These supporting materials can be in the form of examples, facts, statistics, reasons, causes, and effects. And incidents, we may also include incidents, definitions, and comparison and contrasts. For our conclusion part, it is the final section of our expository writing, and should give the reader a concise overview of your thesis statement. In short, it restates the thesis statement that we have in that we include in our introductory paragraph. The intent is to propose further action or to suggest further action, offer a solution, or post new questions to explore. So again, these are the three basic structures of an exposition. We have the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. So again, what are the three parts of or three parts that compose the structure of an exposition? We have first, second, and third. Okay, good job. We have the introduction, body, and conclusion. So let's go now to the language features of an exposition. Our exposition use mental process wherein it states what the writer, what you as a writer thinks or feels about the issue. When we say mental process, it's what's in your mind. So, as a writer, if you're writing an exposition, you are stating in your writing what you feel or think about the issue. Next, another feature of an exposition is using material process. Again, second, material process. In this case, we state what's happening or what happened. Another feature of an exposition is using relational process. So when we say relational process, it is to state what is or should be. Another feature is use simple present tense. When we write an exposition, we are writing in a present tense. It is to tell about the present event. Another, we have here using transitional signals to show contrast. So some examples of words when we show differences in our exposition is by the use of although, however. These are just few of the many words that shows contrast in our writing. Next, we have here using connecting words. Of course, from the word connect to bridge. So, connecting words may include these words. We have firstly, secondly, thirdly, before, additionally, however. So these are some examples of connecting words or transitional words that were discussed last time in our class. Okay, next we have here another feature is using emotive words. So what is emotive words? These are words like woman and child, which are neutral as no feelings arise about them. So that is emotive words. Okay. So again, what are the language features of our exposition? We have first, mental process. Second, material process. Third, relational process. Fourth, simple present tense. Fifth, transitional signals to show contrast. Sixth, connecting words. And seventh, emotive words. Okay, I got here steps on how to write an expository essay. So these are writing requirements when we write an expository essay. So step number 1. For step number 1, first you need to choose your topic and you need to decide your stand, your position on that particular topic or issue. If you've chosen, say for example, about wearing of uniform, you have to make a stand. It's either you will against it or agree to it. It's either you are pro or con. So the question is, are you for or against that particular topic? If you're done choosing your stand or position, let's go now to our step 2. We have here list 4 or 5 points to argue your point of view. So you have to give your point of views. So it can either be in the form of brainstorming. You can brainstorm and you could jot down all those stuff that sprouted from your mind. Brainstorm, no particular order. You may just write it down and then um, without thinking first, whatever, just brainstorm and just jot down all those ideas that comes out from your mind. And after that, you can arrange these ideas in coherent sequence, in a uh, logical position or arrangement that brings your stand. You have to um, check which one comes first, second, or third. Okay, so if you're done with your point of views, let's go now to our step 3. We have here, you have to collect evidence that you will need for each point. So say for example, you got 3 points or point of views. So each points should be supported with an evidence or should be supported with evidences. So what are these evidences? You can make use of code, statistics. You can also use you can support this by giving examples, or also you can have statements from authorities, credible sources. You may include also moral statement, and another way is to tell a real life story that illustrates your point. By this, you can support your claim, providing your audience with supports or evidences that would give them idea and would clear things up or clear things out. So that's for our step 3 when we write an expository essay. So first, step 1, first you need to choose your topic and of course you need to make a stand. Second, you have to list 4 or 5 points to argue your point of view. And this can be done by brainstorming and afterwards arranging your points into a logical order. Next, last step is to collect the evidences that you will need for each point that you have. So it can either be in the form of quotes, statistics, examples, moral statements, or even providing real life story that shows or illustrates your points. So that's our third step in writing an expository essay. Another thing we have in here, we have here another source coming from um, uh, another source from another module. So we got here an expository text merely presents or provides information about a particular topic or issue. This is also sometimes called informational writing, where the writer provides facts on a given topic in a way that is educational and purposeful. Um, uh, this may include providing descriptions, citing reasons, or giving reasons. You need to provide explanations and enumerating steps of a specific process. So that's an exposition text or expository text all about. It provides us or presents information to us about a particular topic or issue. And what are these topics? So it can either be providing the readers with descriptions or meanings, providing them with reasons, providing them with or presenting explanations, and another we got here enumerating steps of a specific process. So some of the common examples of expository text are textbooks. We have also news articles, instructional manuals, recipes, and self books. So these are just few of the many examples. And when we are um, writing or having expository text, we may encounter different features and characteristics. Sometimes they overlap, but to give us a certain focus, our expository text seeks to inform. We have here narrative text. I know you've heard narrative text from the word narration, narrative. It tells us stories, and of course, the purpose is to entertain. And another, we got argumentative text, which the goal is to persuade its readers. So, just to make things clear, expository text is there. We are writing expository text to inform. Okay? So, that's it. So, the key structural elements in an exposition, we have here um, uh, first, a clear and concise thesis statement. So, usually, thesis statement is presented in the initial paragraph, and the thesis statement introduces the main topic or idea, and of course, it provides the overall direction of your text. It gives us the central point of where our essay will go, what will be discussed in our essay. Our thesis statement gives clues. Next, we have here another structural element. We have here clear transitions. So clear transitions, these includes um, uh, some devices, signal words, but clear transition also gives us an idea that from your first paragraph to the last paragraph, your idea should be should be transitioned as smooth as possible. So from our introduction, the body, and the conclusion, it should be tied up, and we should use transition to join sentences. And in our sentences, we got their ideas, so we have to carefully use transitional devices. We have here another feature or structural elements. We have a body that contains evidences and support. Always remember that when we write a body of our exposition or expository text, it should give um, evidences and support. So we have to provide support or supporting evidences to our body paragraph by providing examples and explanations, and make sure that it's fact based. It should not be from chismes. It should not be made up statement, but must be based on facts, credible sources, when we provide evidences and support. Okay, and last, we have here an effective conclusion. So in our conclusion, it is essential to remember that our conclusion is not only meant to summarize, it's not just for the sake of summary, but our conclusion uh, should tie up the ideas all together, while it highlights or emphasizes the true essence of the main idea in the text. So we are providing in our conclusion not just only the summary, the what's really the point that you are trying to say in your writing. It should present there the true essence of the main idea, and of course, it highlights um, ideas that are important in your expository text. So we got here, while most expository essay typically follow introduction body conclusion format, other forms and examples of exposition can take other shapes and patterns depending on how the writer intends to present his or her ideas. As what I've mentioned a while ago, basically our exposition has three um, structural parts. First, we have the introduction, body, and conclusion, but in some cases, our expository texts typically follow one of the following structure or patterns. So in your handouts, you got there the cause and effects, the compare and contrast, the description, another the problem and solution, and sequence. So these five are called structures or patterns of idea development. These are patterns that shows how your idea are being developed. We got ideas, but how do we structure our ideas? So using this five, choosing from choosing one from these five, you can structure um, your your exposition in a way that it's easy to read. Say for example for cause and effects. So here, if you'll use cause and effect as your structure, you as a writer, you are presenting the information by explaining how and why a certain event or occurrences happen, or what's the cause and what resulted from that particular cause or occurrence or the effect. So simply, you are just showing here the cause, and right after, the effects. What happened next after that cause? So that's how you structure your idea if you will use cause and effects. Next, when we use compare and contrast, in here the writer presents the information by providing details as to how things, concepts, or ideas are alike or different. So when we say compare, we're focusing on the similarities, but when we say contrast, we are focusing on the differences. So if you're gonna use this pattern of idea development, which is comparing contrast, your focus here are the differences and the similarities. Next, we got here description. For the description, in this structure, the topic is presented by providing descriptions about its attributes, features, and examples. So you are describing, you are telling something about that topic that you are presenting by providing some um, clear descriptions, vivid descriptions about how it looks like, what's all about that particular topic, what's the features, and of course, you are providing some examples. So it's merely describing things. Next, we have the problem and solution. So in here, as a pattern of idea development, the writer, you as a writer, may present a problem and then provide one or more solutions to that particular problem. So say for example, a um, problem in bullying. So you have one problem and you are providing some solution on how to solve that particular problem, which is bullying. So that's how you write it. You present the problem and you provide one or more solutions to that particular problem. And the last one pattern is sequence. So for the sequence, in this structure, information may be presented in a way that follows numerical or chronological sequence, either explicitly or implicitly. So in this structure, you are providing steps. So which comes first, what happens first, second, and so on and so forth, and then last. So the sequence, how things are going, which comes first, which comes last. So these are our patterns of idea development. So again, let's have a review. What are the 5 idea development or structure of an exposition? We have first, correct, cause and effect. Next, compare and contrast. Third, we have description. Fourth, we have problem and solution. And the last is sequence. So we have cause and effect, compare and contrast, description, problem and solution, and sequence. Regarding our language features of exposition, when we use certain patterns of idea development, we are also using some language or some words. So for our cause and effect, some suggested words that we are expected to use when we use cause and effect. Of course, we have the words because, consequently, since. We have therefore, as a result, thus, for this reason, this led to, due to. So these are suggested words that we may use in our cause and effect pattern of idea development. Say, for example, when we write paragraph, we can use cause and effect, and these words are helpful to tie up ideas. Next, for compare and contrast, we have got here words such as but, on the other hand, as well as, similar to, different from, however, in contrast, although, in the same way. So these are some helpful words that we can use in our compare and contrast pattern of idea development. So when you write paragraph that is comparing and contrasting or focusing on the differences and similarities, you can use these words. Okay, next we have description. For the description, here are the words. So we have, for example, for instance, to illustrate, such as, including, like. So these are just some of the words again that we can use when we write description. When we use description as our pattern of idea development in structuring our paragraphs. Okay? And another we got here, for problem solving, the words are, we got since, consequently, a solution, therefore, so that, and in order to. And for our sequence, when we give chronological order or the step-by-step process, which comes first or which comes last, we have here first, second, third, before, after, finally, then, next, previously. So these are our language features in or of an exposition text. So remember, when we are writing an exposition, we are considering the structure and the language that we are using. And for our structure, we may opt to use any of the suggested patterns of idea development. It can either be a cause and effect, compare and contrast, description, problem and solution, or sequence. And for each patterns of idea development, there are words that we can use, keywords that we can use to show that we are using that particular idea, pattern of idea development. Okay? I believe we're done, and I hope you've learned a lot from this lesson. Okay, so in this lesson, we've talked about exposition, and when we say exposition, we are talking about a piece of text that presents one side of an issue. And we have basic structure of an exposition. We have introduction, body, and conclusion. And some language features we have here: using mental process, using material process, using relational process, using simple present tense, using transitional signals to show contrast, using connecting words, and using emotive words. So when we write an exposition, we've also discussed here some steps. So first, you have to choose your topic and decide which you stand. Are you a pro or a con? Next, step 2, list 4 to 5 points to argue your point of view. You have to brainstorm your reasons and then arrange these reasons into a coherent sequence or logical order so that it could brings out your stand. And the last step is to collect evidence that you will need for each point. So our evidences can be in the form of quotes, statistics, examples, statements from authorities, moral statements, or even telling real life stories that illustrates your point. Okay, so that's it. Another we got here, exposition is merely presenting or providing information about a particular topic or issue, and it may include providing description, citing reasons, presenting explanation, and enumerating steps of a specific process. Moreover, some examples of exposition or expository text here are textbooks. We have here news articles, instructional manuals, recipes, and self-help books. And next, for the structural elements in an exposition, we have our exposition should have a clear and concise thesis statement. And when we say thesis statement, it refers to the central idea of your text or essay that you're writing. Next, there should be clear transitions from introduction to body to conclusion. There should be a smooth transition of ideas. Next, number 3, we have a body that contains evidences and supports. So there should be evidences and supporting details that must be included in our expository text. So it can either be in the form of explanation or examples, but it should be based on facts, not chismes. And lastly, we have here, there should be an effective conclusion that does not only summarizes, but rather highlights the true essence or the real essence of the main idea in our text. So what's really your point? In our conclusion, we are restating that point. And we have here the structure. Moreover, we have here structure. We have the patterns of idea development, which includes cause and effects, compare and contrast, description, problem and solution, and sequence. And each pattern of idea development does have suggested transition words or transition signal words that can help us show that we are using that particular idea or pattern of idea development. So that's all for now, class. If you have questions, so let's pause this video for a while for some questions. Okay, that will be all. I guess you've learned a lot from this lesson. Teacher DK will be providing you with some announcements, so please listen to him. See you next time. Thank you and padayon lang, class.